If we look at the global situation, are we with this turbulence? Are we looking at a permanent decline of America and then the rise of China to match it, sort of?
Well, clearly the United States was at an unprecedented position in the global economy in the 1950s, in the 1960s, in the 1970s. The other part of your question goes to China.
Yes.
It's very easy to extrapolate from the tremendous successes in the high growth rate in China in the last 30 years to the next 30 years. But I lived through the Japanese experience.
Yes.
And the extrapolation of the very rapid growth in Japan between 1960 and 1980 until the Japanese were going to essentially take over the world.
Yes, yes.
China is essentially the second act on the Japanese performance. There is a massive housing bubble in China.
Yes.
And it is going to implode.
You are sure that it will implode?
I will bet large amounts of my children's inheritance that it will implode.
Yes.
And when it implodes, just as it did in Japan,
Yes.
The growth rate will suddenly decline. What we cannot forecast is what will be the government's response to the implosion of the housing price bubble in China.
Yes.
Will the government simply flood the system with credit in an effort to arrest the house price decline? But there is a massive number of unoccupied apartments in China that have been acquired as investment assets.
Yes. So the future isn't necessarily rosy for the Chinese economy.
Well, I hope you'll offer me a bet so I can bet on an implosion of the housing bubble in China. But it's almost as if there's a bubble that moves around the world. It was in Japan, it was in the United States and Iceland, and now it's China's turn.
Yes. But what about the United States? You have this the CFID problem, but in many ways this seems to be political also, because of the great divisions within the political system.
Well, the tensions in the political system and, of course, the proximity to the next election makes it difficult to come to compromise solutions. But we have the legacy of our housing bubble. We have an excess supply of houses, and because we have an excess supply of houses, the number of houses that we are now building is many fewer, almost 1 million fewer a year than we would be building if we didn't have the excess supply. But so we're going to outgrow the excess supply.
Yeah, so you have unemployment. And
we have unemployment. But when we reduce the excess supply of houses, the unemployment rate will decline by 2%, and the growth rate will increase by 2%. So that's the good news.
Yes.
The other part of the deficit is that we have a large trade deficit with China. Why do we have a large trade deficit with China? Because China is the most protective country in the world. It wants to export, and it will not import.
Yes.
The large trade deficit with China means that we have a very large output gap. If the trade deficit with China disappeared, the unemployment rate in the United States would fall by 3 percentage points, and the fiscal deficit would decline by $200 billion.
Yes. Well, it's a sort of a symbiosis between China and the United States.
Absolutely, and it was very much like the symbiosis between China and Japan, between Japan and the United States in the 1980s.
Yeah. So you're not too pessimistic about the American economy?
Oh, I'm the most upbeat young economist in the country.
But then what about Europe? What is happening in Europe? It's the euro seems to be in the skids, and we have Greece and Italy, and now we have the French banks being downgraded.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, it is very difficult for the Europeans to come to a consensus on what to do. And there are several different problems, but the dominant problem is that Greece should leave the euro. So the Germans should essentially tell the Germans and the French, here's your allowance.
Yeah.
If you can adjust in the next year, 18 months, without requiring more money from us, fine. But if you run out of the money, then you're going to have to decide what to do. It is just amazing that a country that is 2% of the euro
Yes.
has caused so much turmoil within Northern Europe. So that problem will be resolved. And the problem with the banks can be easily resolved by government finance in each of the countries, government backstopping for the banks in each of the countries that has banks that appear to have capital shortfalls. They can follow the U.S. procedure. There can be government loans to these banks, and there can be government investment in the banks. What the North Europeans have tried to do is to circumvent dealing with the banks by dealing with Greece and Portugal.
Yeah.
That game is over. They're now going to have to deal with the banks directly, but they've wasted more than a year before they've come to grips that the fundamental problem is with the banks, not with Greece and Portugal.
But will the euro survive in its present form?
Well, the euro will survive, but it may survive with one or two fewer country members for a year or two. But the euro has been a great success. The building of a new Europe has been a great success. In the last 70 years, there's been one war in Europe, and that has been Bosnia.
Yeah.
In the previous 70 years, there were two major wars, World War I and World War II, and a minor war in 1870.
Yes.
So the contrast in the last 140 years, the first 70 and the last 70 is just dramatic, and that reflects the success of the new Europe.
So you don't think that the euro was a huge mistake, or
no.
Like many claim,
Many claim this is peculiar, and I talk with my psychiatrist about this. Why is it so many people want the euro to fail? It is a very puzzling phenomenon.
Yes. To wrap this up, back to Iceland. Well, Iceland has we have currency restrictions, and we have the krona, which was totally overvalued before the crisis, and then dropped, creating some hardships for the people who are living here. But it was, of course, it was good for exports. But what should we do with our currency situation?
Well, I came in this morning from the airport, and it seems to me the krona is still slightly overvalued.
Yeah, well, that's how do you think it's for us? Well, you get your salaries in dollars. For us,
that suggests that exchange controls need to be relaxed. The krona needs to decline another 5 or 10 or 15%. Exports will boom. The unemployment rate will fall. And it will be a little more difficult on the upper middle classes because it will cost more to travel abroad.
Yes. But you think that's viable?
Well, that's what I would do if I were the Minister of Finance.
Yeah. But should we drop the krona at some stage, further in the future?
Oh, that's a very difficult question, and it gets back to your first question: why were there 10 references to Iceland in the 6th edition of Manias? Iceland provides a marvelous opportunity for social scientists to study processes.
Yes.
If you drop the krona, those opportunities will be far less evident. So I hope in my lifetime, at least, the krona will remain an independent currency.
You're meaning you're from a selfish point of view, or?
Well, I think there's a coincidence between my selfish point of view and what I would call the Icelandic national interest.
This is very opaque. Thank you for being on the program.
Thank you very much. I hope you will invite me again.